Hello, and welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Bill Hirschman. I'm the editor of Florida Theater on Stage, and I'm your host tonight. Tonight we're discussing talent management. But first, let's meet our panel. Iris Acker, who is an actress, writer, and our producer of this program. Karen Stevens, an award-winning actress and writer. And filling in for Michael McKeever, if anyone can, is Jeffrey Bruce, an actor, vocalist, and director. But we're honored today to have our guest, Alison Chaplin, who is a talent manager, talent agent, just plain talented. Could you explain to us what the various differences are between a talent agent and a talent manager for the civilians out there?
For the civilians out there. I think that in my definition, the difference between being an agent and a manager, an agent, you're really more of a middleman, whereas you're dealing with a client who's buying the entertainment, and then you're dealing with the actual act themselves. And you're doing detail work and contracts and musical contracting and paying them. Whereas a manager, you are really involved with almost every aspect of their life. You handle their careers, you get to know their families, you become part of their family, and they become your main focus. It's whether you're with a client and an artist, the artist is always right, and you have to make sure that they always stayed. You have to make sure that in whatever situation you're in, they are always a lady or a gentleman, and you go out and you become the pit bull. You're always the bad guy. Bottom line, that's how it is.
It sounds like it takes a lot of time, though. How many clients can you handle at one time?
Well, in what I do, whereas my main focus is really running an agency. So we do block booking in what we do. We have 5 or 6 different artists coming in for block tours, and then we have numerous various isolated situations. In that time as well, I'm doing management, and I run about 2 or 3 different clients.
That's all.
For management.
For management,
yes.
2 or 3.
2 or 3 different clients.
But really
I also do very heavy booking with other artists that are not my specific clients. That's where I become the agent.
I don't understand that. I'm just lost. So you have from other agents, in other words.
From other clients, whereas I might pick up a concert booking for them, I handle it as the agent. I'm the buying agent for that.
For talent who doesn't sign an exclusive with another agency.
Correct, yes.
What kind of artists do you represent?
More or less the nostalgic market.
I like that term. I like that term.
Well, down here in South Florida, we have a concert circuit where we have about 25 or 30 venues that can really put in great quality shows. For instance, some of the artists that we work with, Hal Linden, former Barney Miller, Lucy Arnaz, just finished the national touring company of Pippin. Tony Orlando. I have Tony Orlando right now in town, and he's spectacular. Robert Klein. Then we have tribute bands, tribute to the Eagles, tribute to Springsteen. It's such a vast variety of different situations. And then you have less recognizable talent. People such as myself, or formerly myself, my former occupation. You have younger comics. You have people like Tom Cotter, who was the second live person other than an Animal Act standing on America's Got Talent. Then you have the other wonderful comedians like Dick Capri and Freddie Roman from Catskills on Broadway. So it's really a vast circuit. In management, I deal with Hal Linden. I watch over his career with Michelle Lee, her concert career. Lucy Arnaz, I've worked with quite exclusively for a long time. But again, everybody is out there and doing their thing.
And how much the talent does need management. I mean, I know that.
It's amazing.
I had, when I was in New York, I always had a manager. What I like about management is, if it works in the same way for you for variety talent, I don't know, is that I never called an agent. The manager would call me and say, correct, you have an audition today at blah, blah, blah. And he worked with 8 different agents. And that's why my manager took over my life.
That's very true, but there are certain talent out there that have been in this business for many, many years. Yeah. And people get to know them, and people say, hey, what are you doing? I'd love for you to do this one thing. And then they'll say, call my manager.
And for example, Hal Linden, how often can he come back?
To this market?
Yeah.
It's a funny situation. Most of our artists come back between every 2 and 3 years. For the last 5 years, Down here, he's like chocolate. People just take to him. They take to him. The show it's so well orchestrated. I mean, it's a show. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end.
And he changes it
And he
often.
changes it, pulls certain things out. There are certain pieces of material that are standard, that are anchors. And then you build around that. But he comes down pretty much once a year, every year and a half.
Yeah.
You said there were 20 to 25 venues, is that right?
Maybe more.
Maybe more. What kinds of venues are you talking about?
These
What's the
are-
type of venue?
These are adult senior communities with full theaters, sound systems, lighting. They're beautiful. As a matter of fact, when many of the artists come down, they are shocked to see what these facilities truly look like. They are not sold to the outside public. They are private. Some of the shows, they're handled very, very well. I mean, professional sound people that come in, they know how to work the circuit, and it's beautiful. It's a hidden market, is what it really is.
How
Well,
large?
that's it.
How large?
Nostalgic. That's another word for senior.
You know, it's a hidden market. These artists that come down, many of them. I mean, Michelle Lee just finished doing a year on Broadway in Wicked. Well, you know what? If she's off for a couple of weeks and you can come in and nobody knows you're here and work and do a great show and entertain audiences, it's terrific. It really, it's almost like work and a vacation with the beautiful weather. It's a great deal to come down.
How large an audience can they draw in? Are you talking about 20 people, 200 people? What?
Anywhere from 600 to 1,400.
600 to 1,400?
Absolutely.
Do they sell out a good deal, or?
Oh, absolutely.
That's amazing.
They
Absolutely.
don't charge as much as the major venues down here,
Yeah.
really.
No,
they don't.
that's very
That
true.
has a lot to do with
That's
it, too.
very true. But I mean, if you try to get a ticket for Tony Orlando, it's an impossibility. It's an absolute impossibility.
How do these big name performers find you? I mean, not to diminish you or anything, but you know, are you bi-coastal? I mean, a lot of them I know work a lot in New York, but like someone like Leah Michelle, who does a lot of work in California, and so how do they find you?
We find them. If they don't know about us, that's our job to go out and find them. We are the largest agency here in South Florida for this kind of work. There were two companies that merged about 5 years ago. One was NYK Productions, which is owned by Ari Kaduri, and he's very, very large in this world in the Latin industry. And then there was Charles Rapp Enterprises. Charles Rapp Enterprises were the kings of the Catskill Mountains. Anything that went into the Catskill Mountains came in through Charles Rapp. About 6 years ago, we merged together to make us the largest company. We all have different relationships with various artists, different ways of doing things, and I think that is truly the reason why we work together so well. The different relationships, excuse me, that we strike up, and how we handle things.
And I'm sorry, I made a mistake. You mean Michelle Lee, the actress?
Yes.
Michelle Lee,
Oh, yeah, and
who's been
Michelle's-
around for.
Be careful. Michelle Lee
But you know-
started out.
Yes.
Don't forget, Michelle Lee started out on Broadway. How to succeed in business without really trying.
Yes.
Oh my God, Seesaw.
I know. I remember her from when I was a young girl, and
She
she was
sings
one
like
of my favorites.
Oh,
so
she
yeah,
sings
so
great.
I just So I
Absolutely.
got a little confused there, but
But
yes,
what
Michelle
happens
Lee.
is, as much, for me, I love this business. I started out when I was a kid on the other end, entertaining. And I always said that if I ever was in my end of it, I'd want to treat people the way I would have wanted to be treated myself. And I have to tell you, when we bring in artists, they're treated very, very nicely. I mean, they stay in lovely accommodations. We make sure we have the best musicians going, because that's a very big part of a show. You don't want anybody leaving here saying it was a horrible experience. You know, a band makes or breaks something. We really do go out of our way to make sure. And the nostalgic scene, the one thing about our business is no matter what end of it you're in, it's not a forgiving business. You know, just because you get older, it does not mean that the quality is gone. And unfortunately or fortunately, you know, today in today's world, if you're not 10 or 12, you're old. And that's it's rough. It's not a great business for that.
but you handhold. That's what I always say my manager did. Held my hand.
Oh, absolutely.
He went to auditions with me, but you don't have to do that.
No.
But you go with them. I mean, at Hal, when I
Yes.
saw Hal last, you were there? I mean, you
Oh, absolutely.
You babysit.
Absolutely.
I call it hand-holding. And
That's
babysit.
absolutely
and
correct.
That's what my manager did.
And you know what? With all of our artists that come down here, because again, it is a different kind of a venue than what they're accustomed to, we want to make sure that our artists are happy, that they feel safe, that they feel secure, and that they're not compromising who they are and what they are and what they've accomplished in life.
So as a hand holder, without mentioning names, I wouldn't do that to you, what are some of the more unusual situations you've had to get people through as their manager and part of their family?
Well,
You can mention names if you want, but I'm not going to put you
you
through
want to know
that.
something? I'm doing this 22 years, and I have to say I've never really had problems with the artists. I've had some that have been more of work. I had one artist, and she's now deceased, so maybe it is okay if I use a name, but I remember starting out, now I'm part of the business, but I remember starting out, I would have the owner of the company would give me a day of beauty, as a thank you. Because it was just like a zoo. It was like a 3-ring circus, and she really made me work. I mean, really, really made me work. But you know what? These entertainers that come here, they're seasoned, they're polished. For me, starting out as a talent, and looking at these people and growing up with these people, and having the admiration that I've had for them, it's been a joy.
I think that also something about what Bill just asked, having worked with some very well-known people, the one revelation that I had was how intelligent they are. And as far as hand-holding, I think hand-holding is a little bit extreme because these are very bright people.
Very.
I've known Lucy for a very long time. I'm emailing her when I get home. And you were speaking about Lucy, and I just directed a show at Coral Lakes, and it's a 600-seat theater.
Yes.
And I know that it's sold out right away. So the audiences are definitely there. But the fact is, as far as hand-holding, I think that these people are very focused, even when they become my age. And I think as time goes on, there's less and less hand-holding. I think that the people are very bright. They know what they want.
You build a relationship with them, and they trust you.
Yeah,
they trust you. Lucy, her conductor, a gentleman by the name of Ron Abel, who now has a show getting ready to, taking off Hazel, which is based on the sitcom of Shirley Booth. I remember when he came in, he was working with Shirley Jones. And when he told me that he also worked with Lucy, I said, you've got to get me Lucy. I mean, I worked, I have to have Lucy Arnaz. And when she did it, she was a little apprehensive at first. And then the next time she came back, trusted me, and we added some more musicians. And now she's a regular, and then we began a personal friendship and a business relationship, and we work closely with one another, and it's terrific. So again, it's how you set the tone, and if you show them that you're really diligent and you're going to give them what you can that's in your means of giving them, that's half the battle. That is half the battle.
Now, the variety acts that you book down here as an agent, how do you get them? Do you go to them? They come to you?
It's funny. A lot of them come to us because, again, we are the largest office down here. The names, the stars, the semi-stars, that's not difficult. I mean, you want them, they want you. You're there to support one another. Personally, down here, for me, the most difficult part is the local entertainment. Some of them are very, very talented. Some of them are super talented. And then there are some that are not as talented. And that's difficult. And for me, I think the hardest thing that I've personally come up against, both professionally and personally, is you can like somebody. You can like somebody a lot, but you might not find a place for that somebody. And there's that terrible line of separation between business and friendship, because you're not giving them the work. You're not helping them make their living. And so therefore, you're no good. And then they'll say, you don't like me. It has nothing to do with liking or disliking. It's a totally different issue. And that, for me, I think has been the hardest lesson, because I can really like somebody, but I just don't want to book them. not want to. It's just I don't think they're a right fit.
You sound like Broadway Danny Rose.
Well, you know what? But it's the truth. It really is the truth. It's a very difficult line to cross. So I would say that's the biggest obstacle I found down here.
But you're sensitive because you started as a performer. Can you just briefly trace the arc of how you got into
From
this?
Douglaston.
Well, I'm originally from Douglaston, Queens. Yes, Fresh Meadows.
Fresh Meadows.
I'm originally from Douglaston, Queens. I started out, I always wanted to sing, and when my friends were outside in the streets playing kickball, there were no computers at that time, and playing all games and doing the things that kids should be doing, I was in my room listening to Tony Orlando and Dawn with my hairbrush, or listening to Gypsy Angela Lansbury, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to sing, and there was no getting me out of that. When I was 11, I started doing Sesame Street albums, I should say, and Pepsi Cola jingles, and originally friends of ours from the Yiddish theater, the Barry sisters.
Oh, Claire Barry.
Claire and Myrna. And Myrna used to schlep me into New York, and she got me an audition. And from that, it was doing Pippi Longstocking in the South Seas. And from that, her advice to me was always, no matter what happens, if you don't get something, do not be discouraged. It could be because you're too tall. That was never my problem. Too short, too fat, too thin. You have it, you work at it. And that's a big thing that I tell kids. You have to want it and believe in it, and that has to be your main function. And then I went to University of Miami, where I received my degree in music. And then I started working. I was immediately out on the cruise ships and the Catskills. As a matter of fact, my business partner, when I was 12, my mom took me to his office and said, can you book her in the Catskills? And they said, bring her back when she's 18 if she can whistle. She's got an act.
So how did you transform into this?
When I was 30 and I was doing the cruise ships and I didn't have a hit single, my uncle, who owned Colony Records in New York, said to me, listen to me, if you don't have a single, and better yet, if you get one single, you have to have something that sustains you. And if you don't have that, start thinking. Don't waste your life. Make sure you have food on your table and a house to live in. And so I went to work where I am now, NYK, and now it's NYK Rap, but I've been there 22 years, and now I have a part in the business, and I've switched focus.
I get a kick out of it. I worked for Charlie Rapp when I was in New York because I had a club act with another gal, and unfortunately, it was very successful. We were the only two female comedians at that time. There were no other two others, and she decided to go back to school and become a social worker. And I remember Charlie saying, find another gal. I said, no, forget it. That's that. I put it aside. No. But I worked, and Ari Kaduri. I did the play with Lou Jacoby, Come Blow Your Horn. He booked it. Were you on?
Did he? No, that was before my time. That was probably when Judy Pulevsky was there.
He booked it through, it was a Florida tour, all through Florida, Sarasota and Jacksonville and everything. And that was but it wasn't his choice. It was Lou Jacoby, I'm pleased to say, said he wasn't going to do the show without me. Oh. And Ari said, it's ridiculous, I don't want to do his accent, that's terrible. We're rehearsing in New York. We're rehearsing in New York. Ari said, he said, but it's a Florida show, and she's in Florida. He said, you'll find somebody in New York. He said, no. He said, you'll bring her to New York.
Right.
That's
Let me tell you something. You can go to college, but in all honesty, I am so grateful to that man because I owe everything to him, and I really mean that as a boss, as a friend.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Oh. What did he teach you? What is it? What were the secrets?
He taught me the business. I learned from a master. I must say that he gave me a lot of rope to hang myself with. Uh-huh. He trusted my judgment, and I must be one of the luckiest people in the world. He's never questioned me, ever, in 22 years.
Is there anything that he said to you that you carry around with you in the back of your head all the time?
Well, the one thing that I did learn was always have it in black and white. I don't care how many computers there are. I have everything on paper. I'm a paper hoarder. I love paper.
Good for you.
And that was a very good education in many instances. Many instances.
The South Florida market, I'm curious. I haven't had great luck with agents. I have had agents seek me out,
let's discuss it now.
Which is nice. But I'm basically a theater actor. And I always thought I was a great commercial type. And people have always told me that. Yet I don't get submitted for commercials. Now, of course, agents will not get you theater work either, because that's
Right.
not your...
That's not my expertise.
No, it's nobody's expertise really down here. But what do you look for? If somebody who is unknown comes to talk to you, do you ever bring anybody on board who is not,
oh,
quote
absolutely.
unquote, known?
But the one thing
What
that
time
makes
should I be
me
there?
Crazy, and I do mean crazy. Now it's electronic press kits.
Yes.
But when people send me a hard copy in the mail, and they take a piece of paper on their bio, and they take an 8x10 and handwritten, and then they fold it in quarters,
What,
and
their
they throw
picture?
up their bio, and then they put a picture in, and I say to them, it goes into my filing system. Anybody know what the filing system
Yes.
is?
Yeah.
If that's what you think of yourself, why should I think any differently of you?
Well,
I don't
that's
like
very
that.
unusual.
Oh no, it's not. No, it is not. I
As
have to
variety
correct.
actors,
As variety
they-
artists, it is
but
certainly not.
variety. See, we're talking variety here. It's
You have to
altogether
realize that when
different.
an agent looks at something, the first thing that they're going to see when they open the mail is what you're sending them. And if they don't think highly enough of themselves, how can they expect you to think differently?
Yeah,
You
but
know?
commercial actors and film actors, even theater actors, they wouldn't do that. Variety
yes,
actors,
they would.
that's another cult.
You know,
Yes, they
that's
would.
another
Yes, they
cult.
would.
Variety is really.
I want to see a video link of what they're doing, how they interact with an audience. We have a lot of non-recognizable names. Again, it's more local entertainment that is down here, and again, some of them are fabulous. Some not so. And it's very hard for you to tell somebody. I will take every phone call. I will return every phone call. But I beg people, stop asking me, because I'm trying to be, tactful, and I'm trying to be, but then sometimes you just have to say, thank you, but it's not what I'm looking for at this time. And either they get it or they don't. Some really don't.
Do you book through AGVA?
No.
No?
Nope. This is, none of this down here is union.
Is she? Okay.
None of it is union, so we have none of that to look forward to.
Okay. Okay.
This is one of the only nightclub scenes left. This is what the Catskills of the North used to be. When people would go to the Concord and Kutchers and Grossingers and Brown. This is one of the only markets that is left like that, because you can stay in one location and you can bounce every night someplace else, which is terrific. They have it in Arizona as well, but each venue is like 2 to 3 hours apart.
Arizona, I didn't know that. That's
Yes.
interesting.
And is that mostly Miami?
No, not Miami at all.
The other way.
Mostly the other way, further north, up in Delray Beach and Boynton and Boca
Oh, in
Raton.
Palm Beach,
Palm Beach. Oh,
the
absolutely.
Colony.
Yeah.
Pretty much as far up as Port St. Lucie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where do
I
you
did
see
not
that
know
all going in the next 5 or 10 years? Are we going to have Beyonce playing in front of me when I'm at the senior center, or
But again, and I have to make you change that term, because it's not a senior center.
I'm sorry.
When I think of a senior center, I think of you're going to walk in and see dead people, and
Right.
it's not that. It
I understand.
really is. I'm telling you, I don't know how to get this across to you, but these theaters are stunning. They really are stunning. And we've had everybody from Barbara Cook, Shecky Green, David Brenner, may he rest in peace, he was great. Robert Klein, Lucy
I've
Arnaz.
seen Barbara Cook down
they've
here at one of those. It was amazing.
I'm sorry, they have all come down here and they've worked it, and they've been gracious and wonderful.
But do you see a future past 5 or 10 years?
The problem that I see now are their children take over when they pass away, and,
Right.
and their children take on their homes. They're not as supportive as we'd like them to be, but then again, that's why we're switching a little also. Years ago, you would not have seen a tribute to the Eagles. You would have not have seen the Boss Project. We're bringing in a show next season called Art Explosion. 10 people singing, painting in front of your very eyes within minutes, all recognizable portraits that are the size of the backdrop here.
Wow.
And it's spectacular. So we're trying to move with the times as best as we can.
More experiential kinds of things as opposed to just sitting down and
Absolutely.
doing
Get them
greatest
up,
hits medley.
dancing. If they feel like dancing in the aisles, go for it. Go for it. We want them to enjoy every minute of it.
No, I'm that audience too. I love seeing, we all do, different, something,
My
imagination.
personal taste doesn't matter. I'm a throwback. I was born in the wrong era. I love the music. I was listening to Liza and Sinatra when everybody was out listening to Jethro Tull. So, I'm not a great example of that, but I just like quality. Our office, NYK Rap, is an office that we desire it and we get it.
Yeah,
We
and
get
you
the best
can
talent.
recognize talent because you are talent. I think that is
Thank you.
important, singing especially. And a lot of them are so insecure. And you know, I'm a very good friend of Hal Linden's, go way, way back. And but he wouldn't hesitate to say, you know, should I take another lesson? Should I take a singing?
Oh,
How does my
absolute-
voice sound?
Absolutely. And then there are some that should say that and don't.
Please, I'm sitting right here.
You know, there's. Hey, listen, it is. You are. I always tell people, you are not a machine. These are people. People get sick. I mean, you cannot expect. What you hear on a record, on a CD, a record. What you hear on a CD is, you know, is a studio. That's not real. That's doctored. This is real. So if somebody is sick and they have laryngitis and they have to work through it,
And they
it's
do.
not that a show is bad. The show is great. What do you want? Do you want a cancellation? Do you want them there? What is it that you want? And that's what we try to deliver.
And speaking of great shows, we have just finished one. And we are so glad you were here. We're really grateful to you for coming in and explaining all this. This has really been
Thank you for
fascinating.
having me. I've loved it. Thank you.
This has been terrific. And I want to thank our panelists, and most of all, we want to thank you for being here week after week. And next week we have another terrific show. We won't tell you what it is because it may be different next week. But anyway, please join us. See us here at Florida. See us here at Spotlight on the Arts. And if you want to know what else is going on, please come out to the theater, and you can find out what is going on at the theater by looking at floridatheateronstage.com. But we look forward to seeing you back here next week on Spotlight on the Arts.